Okay, the backflip, probably one of the most requested to be taught moves. This move you really need to, a lot of people have a mindset with this one where they're afraid to go over backwards and it's like a pedestal thing like the backflip. It's actually, out of all of the moves, probably one of the easiest to do. I would say it is 10 times easier than a front flip. The problem is the fear. This is more of getting over fear and committing on this than anything. Once you have this setup itself, the initial setup, when you take off, as long as you do everything properly, spotting and opening up for your landing is easy. And the good thing about this one is, unlike the front flip where it's actually slightly time sensitive when you open up looking forward to make sure you don't overshoot or undershoot, even if you screw this one up on your timing for your landing, everybody's always afraid you're going to land on your head. This one is, if you commit to going over, and I'll show you the safe ways to getting over that fear in a second so that you're comfortable with that and you know that you can land this move before you try it on solid ground. Even if you screw that up though, you're set up like you take off and you open too early or a little late. If you open a little late and you've got a solid one, you're going to hit like on your heels and just fall back. If you're a little early, you're not going to land on your face or your head. Chances are you're just going to, kind of like a frog, like you'll just land like that, provided you learn it the safe way and the right way. So first step is I'm going to show you using a foam pit how you can get over the fear and ways of going over backwards, making sure you're going to bail, and that's fine, that's cool. You're supposed to do that. If you don't have any bails, well then you're weird, because everybody bails a little bit on these moves, especially when they learn them. You're going to just get comfortable with it, and you're going to get familiar with the basic concept of going over and going over straight. And then from there, you'll begin putting more technique into it as you go. But the first step is breaking down that fear wall. So here's a few things for the foam pit. These are all things that you should try. You can use a spotter. I didn't have a spotter when I learned this. I learned it a long time ago on a trampoline, then couch cushions, and then at recess. And then like 13 years later, I just tried it again and still could do it. Well, kind of. I had to clean it up a bit. So here's some foam pit drills, and then we'll get back to technique. All right, for the technique, another thing that's actually a bit of an issue with this move and the way people think about it, you are not whipping yourself over backwards and landing on your feet, like whipping your feet over your head. This is essentially two parts, two steps for this move. And it's very important that both steps are done. There's the set, and then there's the tuck. And then at the end, you're going to release from your tuck to land. But a lot of people think that this is just one big power, throw yourself over, and it is not. So I'll just show an example here. I'll do one from the side, I'll do one from the front, just so you can take a look. But pay attention to when I'm doing this, how I'm setting and I'm tucking, and I'm not just whipping over, which I will do a few of those in a minute to show you some do's and don'ts. So here's a few examples. And do a sideways one, that way you can see from a different angle. Note how I look forward, set up, and then I tuck. I don't just whip over like this is one power muscle move. So, two parts. You got your set, you got your tuck. You're just going to open up when you spot the ground. You'd think the landing would actually be the toughest part. That actually, not only for myself, but everybody I've taught, seems to be pretty simple. You're already, when you're at that point, you're looking at the ground, and it's a very natural thing to open up. If not perfect, pretty close to where you're in the right spot. So when you're spotting the ground, that's when you release. When There's really not much more you can say as far as when you open. Let's talk about the set. The set is going to be not something where you want to go way down and come back. You want your back to be straight. Do not arch your back. Do not be trying to look back over your head. When you leave the ground, you should be looking forward and going straight up, not backwards. And the reason is that this, you'll learn like in the gainer variation after this, you'll learn about momentum, and as you go, you're going to start really, for every future move, really know and understand these momentum concepts better. And it's going to make everything later way easier to learn. The hardest moves to learn are these basics. But the set going up is controlling your momentum so that it's making sure you go up. When you bend your back and you look over, especially before you take off, you're already going this way. So what do we know? When you take off, you're going to be driving back. That's not what you want, because you've capped your height before you've even left the ground. You haven't even jumped yet, and this is the highest you're going to be. So you're going to be very open. You're not going to have time to tuck, and you're probably just going to land on your stomach or hands and feet like this, and you're never going to go anywhere landing it that way unless you've got insane amounts of ups. So the set, simple, simple, simple. Make sure I'm center frame here. You're just going to look forward, spot, just like you would with a kick. Anything, doesn't matter. Spot on the wall, no butterfly, doesn't matter. As long as it's forward in front of you. Feet, shoulder width apart. You're going to bend down at the knees, and the arms are going to be huge drivers in this move, like huge for your momentum and your power. You don't want to just kind of have them being lazy. These right here are your workhorses. So you're going to bend, looking forward, spotting, swing your arms, and you're still going to look forward. All you're going to do right here is just your set. That's it. That's how you're going to start this. That's where your power comes from. You can see with the arms, if I don't use them, and then versus using them, not only am I getting a little bit more up, but I've got a lot of momentum for when I've got to pull in. My arm's already heading in that direction. So then you've got the tuck. Tuck can be practiced easily on the ground. You do not want to be open. The tighter you are in air, the faster you're going to spin. You won't start spinning until you choose to start spinning. So when you set, as soon as you leave the ground, you basically know that you've officially left the ground with a hop. That's when you're swinging, your knees are going to come up to your chest, and then you're going to look back. Or actually kind of more like up. People say look back, but you're more looking up. So you should be doing this. Once you leave the ground, you're starting off straight, and then you're just going to bend in. This is ideal right here, how you want to be during your flip. The tighter you are, the better off you are. If you're kind of tucked, but not very tight, you're kind of like this, you're going to spin faster than if your body was straight, but not near as fast if you were in a tight tuck. So work your tucks. Just on the ground like that, just get used to that idea of. So then it's just timing. You got your set. Once you've left the ground, if you start to do that before you leave the ground, you're going to cap your height again, and then since you're starting to lean, you're going to travel backwards. You don't want to travel a great distance. In fact, you should almost think of it like you're trying to land in the exact same spot that you started. That's going to focus on making you want to go up instead of backwards. So when you set, you're going to swing the arms, spotting forward, leave the ground still looking forward, and at that point when you know, okay, I've officially left the ground, my toes are off the ground, so you're going to take off from the balls of your feet, push off, toes will be the last thing to leave. Once you're off the ground, you're going to tuck, look. Once the knees come up, just look back, look up, and then you will rotate quickly. If you don't, you will get one of these. I will try one of the nice little no tuck, arching my back before I leave, and you can see how that looks as compared to doing it right. Not very good. Not very good at all. And it doesn't have a lot of potential. And you can see how much distance I covered, whereas if I do it the correct way, I shouldn't have a whole lot of backward travel. You'll probably still have some, and a little bit's fine, but you shouldn't be over here, you know, just a little. So, you know, I went just a little bit, that's fine. This over here, not so good. So, those are what you're going to want to work on. Tuck, throw that on the ground, you're set. This move is literally that simple though. It's just setting up, and as soon as you leave the ground, tucking and looking back, that is all there is to this move. That easy. Just trying to go up and not back. It's all about commitment. So back to those foam pit drills. You're going to start off just going over backwards. And that's, start jumping in the foam pit in any position going forward. Get comfortable with the fact that you're not going to get hurt going into that thing. And then once you do, then you can start going over backwards. Get comfortable with that, you're going over straight, you're not going off to the side, you're comfortable going over backwards. As that progresses, start throwing more of the technique into it, making sure that instead of diving back, which is okay when you're just getting over your fear, that's perfectly fine if you're going back. You're just breaking down the main barrier to this move. But after that, when you start putting more technique into it, you'll see you're getting higher, more complete, and once you've gotten to the point where you're pretty confident that you're landing, or at least kind of like that you're landing, throwing a mat on top of the foam, like a soft crash mat, like one of the 6-8 inch thick crash mats. It's got a lot of give still, and it's sitting on the foam, so even if you do land on your head, which at this point you should not be at all at risk for that, but even if you do, you'll be alright. You'll look funny. But yeah, that's going to be, now you have an indicator. Now we're engaging mode, so you can see, okay, this is where my landing is at. And when you get to that point where you're doing that now, you're improving your technique, landing on the mat on top of the foam, and you're consistently landing, that's when you know it's time to take it to the floor. Now you can, you know, take it to like outside in parks where you got grass with like a volleyball area where it goes like from grass to sand if you don't have access to a gym. Otherwise, like in here on a plyometric floor, which for most moves not requiring a run and punch, this floor really doesn't give you any advantage in height. Anything with a swing, there's no advantage. The only advantage is when you hit this floor, it's going to give, so it's not going to hurt like hard ground or concrete. But for just a standing backflip, it's going to be just like it on the grass. So if you do a standing backflip on this plyometric floor, you go right out and do it in the grass, the parking lot. Just make sure that you're 100 out of 100, 10 out of 10 every time. So I will show you a few drills now, just to work on improving your technique in the foam pit, and then from there, it's all fear. So simple. I wish I had more drills for you, but unfortunately, this move is so simple, and it's just all about getting over fear. That really is the majority of it. Just your set, your tuck on the ground drills, and getting over fear. So here's some drills.